The Kremlin is using recent arrests of high-ranking officials on corruption charges to obscure the real reasons for these actions. For example, the arrest of Major General Ivan Popov was likely a response to his persistent grievances about problems in western Zaporizhia Oblast. Popov's dismissal from his command position in July 2023 followed his concerns over troop rotations and the Ukrainian counteroffensive. This pattern of arrests is intended to minimize attention to previous insubordination and to reinforce the Kremlin's message that loyalty to President Vladimir Putin outweighs competence. Satellite imagery indicates that Ukrainian forces likely damaged the Russian Black Sea Fleet's small missile ship Tsiklon in Sevastopol, Crimea, on May 19th. Images dated May 20 show a damaged building, a rescue ship, and a floating crane near where the Tsiklon was docked. Reports confirm that Ukrainian forces struck the Tsiklon with ATACMS missiles. This incident highlights Ukraine's ongoing efforts to target key Russian military assets. The destruction of the Tsiklon and other recent strikes emphasize Ukraine's strategic use of precision-guided munitions to disrupt Russian naval capabilities in the Black Sea. The Kremlin continues to time its nuclear saber rattling with major policy discussions in the West as part of a reflexive control campaign. This involves strategic use of nuclear exercises to influence Western decision-makers. Recently, the Russian Ministry of Defense announced preparations for new exercises involving Iskander ballistic missiles and Kinzhal aeroballistic missiles. These actions are aimed at shaping adversary responses to benefit Russia. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky highlighted how Russia uses its territory as a sanctuary for launching attacks, complicating Ukraine's defense. This tactic aims to deter Western support for Ukraine and influence international negotiations. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky indicated that the limited Russian offensive in northern Ukraine is achieving its goal of drawing attention away from intense Russian offensive operations in eastern Ukraine. He noted that the situation in northern Kharkiv Oblast has been stable for about a week, consistent with a slowdown in Russian advances. However, Russian forces have intensified efforts around Bakhmut and Chasiv Yar, aiming to draw and fix Ukrainian forces. This strategy creates opportunities for Russian forces elsewhere. Zelensky's observations highlight the ongoing complexity of the battlefield, with Russia employing diverse tactics to achieve its strategic objectives. The Russian military command reportedly initially planned for rapid advances in northern Kharkiv Oblast. However, the limited forces deployed suggest a change in strategy. Reports indicate that the Russians aim to advance up to 20 kilometers from the border within 72 hours, but achieved only limited gains. Ukrainian forces reported Russian concentration of 35,000 personnel in the area, aiming for 50,000 to 70,000. This limited progress reflects creeping advances rather than a decisive breakthrough, highlighting Russian tactical adjustments amid operational challenges and logistical constraints. The change in plans underscores the evolving nature of Russian military operations. Ukrainian forces have effectively targeted Russian logistics and supply lines, creating significant challenges for Russian military operations. Recent strikes on critical infrastructure such as bridges and supply depots have disrupted the flow of reinforcements and supplies to the front lines. This has forced Russian commanders to adapt their strategies, often resulting in slower advances and reduced operational effectiveness. These target attacks are part of Ukraine's broader strategy to weaken Russian capabilities and sustain its own defensive operations. The impact of these strikes is evident in the logistical difficulties faced by Russian forces on the battlefield. Russian authorities continue to forcibly deport Ukrainian citizens, including children, from occupied territories deeper into Russia. These actions aim to erode Ukrainian cultural identity and forcibly integrate these populations. Reports indicate that thousands of Ukrainians have been relocated under harsh conditions, with many separated from their families. This policy of forced displacement has been condemned internationally as a violation of human rights and international law. The deportations are part of a broader strategy to consolidate control over occupied regions and undermine Ukrainian resistance. This tactic underscores the severe humanitarian impact of the ongoing conflict.